We're now onto a fireside chat, not just architect, this is leadership too. And as tech grows more complex, senior technical roles are becoming more and more critical to strategic decisions. This session explores why the technical leader and his or her path is more relevant than ever, and how these roles shape vision, align teams, and drive organization-wide change through enterprise and expertise and influence. In a world where technology is rewriting every rule, technical leadership is no longer about just knowing the tools, it's about shaping the future. So today's leaders must blend deep domain expertise with vision, with agility, and the ability to inspire diverse teams. This session will dive into what it truly takes to lead in tech today, mastering complex problem solving, driving innovation at scale, communicating with clarity across stakeholders, and making decisions rooted in ethics and impact. Our moderator is Sarika Atri, a veteran technology leader with 20 and more years at Google, Adobe, Flipkart, and Hotstar, co-founder of Exemplify.tech. She helps startups scale as CTO, advisor, and mentor. She's a passionate advocate for women in tech, and she also contributes to AnitaB.org, mentoring and shaping the next generation of tech leaders. We have Geeta Pai, the Director, Cloud and Principal Application Technologist at Kyndryl India, with over 2 decades of experience in enterprise technology, and her background spans solutions and systems architecture, coding, project management, and building large-scale products in cloud, telecom, and e-commerce. We've got one gentleman, Harsh Mittal, the distinguished engineer at Intuit. Harsh is a seasoned technology leader with over 15 years of experience building and scaling large distributed systems at Amazon and Disney Plus Hotstar. As a chief architect and advisor to the CEO at Hotstar, he has led major platform transformations, including the next-gen Hotstar X stack, and delivered record-breaking performance with over 60 million concurrent viewers. So it's over to Sarika for this session.
Thank you so much. I know we are sitting between you and the lunch, so we'll keep it completely on time. A friend of mine who does leadership hiring for big tech a few months ago told me that it's become so much harder to hire principal engineers and architects, and it's easier to hire directors and VPs comparatively. And that got me thinking. And I was wondering why and what has happened to make these roles quietly so much more important in the current modern tech landscape. And this shift is happening not just in the big tech. It is also happening across the industry in companies of all sizes and shapes. I have myself been an architect for many years, and I've seen the impact that these roles carry. Folks who are principal engineers, architects, staff engineers, how they are shaping the roadmaps, how they are building the strategy in ways that are often overlooked. And that's what we are here to explore today. We will look at how these roles have an impact, how they are not just technical, but very much a leadership role. And I'm really excited to explore this with my panelists, Geeta and Harsh, who both tremendous tech leaders. And I've had the opportunity to work with Harsh at Hotstar, so we'll dive into that also a little bit. With that, let's get started. So we will start with unpacking what technical leadership means. I mentor a lot of mid-level engineers, and one of the things that folks say is that I don't really know what a principal engineer does. Many a times they think it's only design and architecture, that's it, and that's where the buck stops. So Geeta, let's start with you. Start with telling us what technical leadership means to you and how your role compares to the traditional leaders.
Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for having me here. It's a great opportunity to share the stage with all of you. Well, what does a technical leadership mean to me? Whenever we hear the word leadership, right, we always think on the executive CX level titles and the roles in our mind. But technical leadership is totally different. It is like we do not have titles as a big those titles, but we have the more influential guys in a room. So any business that has to run needs to have the technology background and context and the context given through the engineering aspects. So company runs on businesses, right? And one part of the story is where it talks about what is the deal size, what is the revenue, etc. But those will be still on paper until we realize them. And the realization comes through only the technical leadership, be it be principal engineers or principal architects or so on and so forth, because every company has different technical leadership roles. And those are the more influential ones who are not only strong on technical depth, they have lots of ideas, architectural backgrounds, and the relevance to the topic, domain in the horizontal scale. So this is a very much influential role, I would say, and most of the time we will not have authority on people. I think she's going to talk about authority on the people, right? But the thing I'm saying is that in the higher leadership level for the technical people, also we may get sometime the report is, but that is just to satisfy the system because we are so individual and we are so content as an individual contributor alone. So we really need not need to have a control on anybody, but our influence, our experience through the years makes a huge impact. You ask
I
me,
love that you said influence is what makes the impact, not necessarily the
course.
authority.
Absolutely. And I think all the audience would agree right here. So if you do not have an influential skill, so no business can anytime excel. So you asked me an additional question. How is it different to other traditional leadership roles? Okay, in the traditional leadership, I would say people managers or a VP or SVP, and comparing the technical leadership this side, maybe distinguished engineer, my partner sitting here on sharing the dais, and then the senior technology architects, they have completely different in terms of their roles and responsibilities. I will talk about the execution level. So I think people here on in the room are both coming from technology as well as from management style. So technology leaders do certain things like first and foremost, they are very simple in their thinking. Any complex situation is put in front of them, which is in terms of business strategy or requirements. They know how to translate them into technical requirement, very simple, based on the target audience. If my audience is going to be an execution team and engineers, I will talk the language they understand. If I need to do the same thing to my business leadership, uh, based on which they can take the decisions, I will have the language in terms of business outcomes and the revenue targets and other things. If I need to do the same thing in front of my customer, I would talk the way that customer trusts me and have the faith that they are in the safe hands. So these are the major things as in technical leadership will have, while the other side will have people, budget, staffing as their main criteria to look at and well-being of the team, etc. When I do not have all of that, but still I have a big empathy towards engineers and everybody else because I know what hurts more when things do not work. So empathy comes first. They clear the kiosk, they make the things simpler, they mentor, uplift others. When we are in the room, it is like it is no more about who is the smartest person, right? It is like who made everybody smarter around. So that is how the leadership gets defined.
Amazing.
Thank you.
I think a couple of things that I want to repeat. One, you mentioned the role is to take complex requirements, make it into simple designs. Amazing. I think that's what we do day to day. All of us here who are in IC roles, that's what we do. The other thing you mentioned is how, okay, I have a perimenopausal brain, so I'm blanking on. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. We act as translators, right? We act as translators between all of these different functions, understanding what somebody will understand and using it. So amazing. Moving on to Hirsch. Hirsch, I know you were the first architect hire at Hotstar, and you got pulled into the CTO office and then later into CEO's office as well. It must have been an amazing feeling. tell us some instances, some conversations that happened there, wherein tech having the seat on the table changed the direction of what would have been.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you for the opportunity, and very glad to be speaking to this audience. I think I have a couple of examples, and I think they were both ways. There were cases where tech being on the table helped business propel forward, in some ways actually change the trajectory of the business, as well as cases where, because tech was on the table, it understood businesses' needs, built that empathy, and then went on to translate it for the tech organization. So I'll actually take an example from the latter. I think this is circa 2023, and we wanted to do a new vertical viewing experience for cricket, which was branded as Max View later. This was going to be India first innovation, never done before on live sports. And it was like a month to go for the go live date. And the World Cup and the IPLs used to be like a month's of drill at Hotstar, you remember. And so the CEO basically came up one day and he called me and he said, Harsh, the team has this amazing idea. We think this could really be the thing that will get cricket viewers go gaga. We'd really like to get it on in another month's time when we go live. The initial reaction from the team seems to tell me it can't happen, right, as you'd expect. Can you go figure?
I was one of them.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so, so my initial reaction, of course, was no, like we are really, locked, no more releases. But why don't you tell me more about it? What do you think we have to gain in this? How does this help the customers? And I think in those 5 minutes, I started to get some sense of why this may matter to the business and to the customers. So I went back to the engineering community, heard the product managers, heard the engineering leaders, and there were concerns of all factors. There were the complexity of the problem statement, the timelines and stuff. And then I kind of sat with them to say, okay, what is the bare minimum MVP that we think we could do without hurting a lot? Let's think of it as an experiment. If it works, it's great. If not, we will probably pull it off. And I will own setting that expectation with the CEO. So I think that's the first thing I did, which was kind of insulate tech from saying, you shall not get the blame for this. I'll take it, but for now, just unblock yourself from that shackles. Let's figure out what is it that needs to be done. If we had to land this, what does that MVP look like? Went back with that to the product and the business, convinced them on the same lines to say, look, what you're asking for is really unrealistic given the timelines, but this is the best we can do, and here are the trade-offs. And I think that kind of got the conversation starting, where the two parties started to come together. And so I really acted as a mediator, somebody who came with a dispassionate view on this problem, but while being educated on both fronts, and then kind of trying to bring them together to say this is why it matters to the other party. And turns out it was a huge success, and continues to be live till date and breaking the paths on what cricket streaming in India looks like.
Yeah, amazing. And I was there when this was happening, right? One more thing I would like to add to that narrative is when the engineering team is looking at an ask like this from a CEO's office or from, let's say, a business team, we go thinking, oh, they don't know what it is going to take. But
Correct.
when somebody like Harsh comes and says, let's solution for it, then there is a shared responsibility. There is somebody who's going to be there with you in the climb, and that just rally the troops. We made it happen in a month, which was a massive, massive
crazy.
feat. It was a super complex project, so it was a lot of fun.
Indeed, indeed.
Okay, moving on to, we know it's important, right? This role has become more important because there is complexity that is in the system that has grown tremendously, and hence every company does want a principal engineer or an architect, whatever their levels are. But at the same time, a lot of folks at the mid-level, for them the default is to move to the management because that's where the growth seems like is there. So Geeta, I want you to help us understand and help everybody in the audience understand who are in their early in their career or at the mid-level, how should they be thinking about it? What is that decision framework that they can use to make a choice whether they should stay technical or whether they should become a manager?
Okay, thank you for the question. By the way, there is no formula given as whether to take the technical career path versus the management career path. It's all individual choices, first of all. And second of all, the day when we are living in today, there is lots of the gap between these two is becoming almost diminishing. The expectation from industry and market is that every individual needs to be technical. So, and it was true even in the past. Somewhere, I think 10, 15 years back, it became more prominent where we have the people manager, functional manager, architects were prominently seen. But that gap is again reduced in my opinion because the entire world, entire organization, our customers, they all say that everybody is technical, but the percentage of technical depth differs. Where the technology architects, people in the technical career path are 100 or 100 plus percentage into technicality, but others are maybe 10, 20, 25, 30, 35, whichever percent they are, but all are technical. But what makes these architects totally different from the rest and why I think some of the pointers I can give to assess which is suitable for each one and the percentage of the technicality that somebody can cope up with. So we can go through some lenses of ourselves. So for example, everybody when out of the college, we would always would like to trial what we have studied or what we have gained experience prior getting into an workplace, be it be our entrepreneurship or in an enterprise. So we'll start with maybe coding. I'm just thinking the easiest one for everybody to understand. Try to code and maybe within a year or two, somebody will identify themselves, say that it is not my piece of cake, I'm not understanding it well. Probably I do the product envisioning, product categorization or think for a strategic angle better. That is where the taste changes. But moving, saying that I'm no more going to code is not the right thing. So one needs to know a couple of things. In the mid-career at least, when you are in the confusion, ask what you would like to be known for, first of all. What are your likings? What keeps you happy? For example, very first thing you say that, when I get up in the morning, I always would like to see that first mail I traverse and go see what are my customer emails are, what my project team's emails are. Rest of the leadership emails, at the second, I'll read. Because that keeps me always energetic in the morning, first thing to see that what has come, what is my priority for the today to set. So that way, if you are more towards technology and ambitious towards solving customer problems and be with the team to help them and be known for your technical abilities, that is where you are inclined towards technologies, stay there. Now, if you believe that you are more towards people, you are not able to do 100% on technology, maybe to a certain extent, but you are very excellent manager, you want to people manage. Some projects will demand 200, 300 people, and you can manage them well and have a fantastic scheduling and staffing, etc. That is where you need to be. But don't stay there for long. What I'm to say is that technology also, we never stay at one place. It is continuous learning, continuous coding. We are hands-on. So that way, you may be probably change from hands-on to 100% to maybe 50%. Still stay there. You are maybe having the methodology to execute your projects. You may be using agile teams, sprints. Those are also based on some technology tools that will help you to make it. Learn them, know them, how to use them. You may be using ITSMs. You may be using other tools to make your work faster, easier, and in line with the technology demands from your customers. Those are all still technology. You may not be writing, but you may be using. So my advice is that go through your own thing and see what you want to be known for, what impact you want like to bring, and what are your aspirations are, and decide. And as I said, end of the day, career is a portfolio of, the path of career is portfolio of our experiences. It is not a straight line saying that I have stayed architect forever. Keep changing between both, convert them, merge them, experience both the sides of the house, but then make the choices for a shorter time or a longer time. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much. That's very, very insightful, right? Saying that there are no boundaries. There is no walls between these two roles. Actually, I know a couple of folks in my circle who have done the jump from being a chief architect to becoming a CTO and then back to being a chief architect. And I'm sure we all know folks at all levels who've done that. Amazing, amazing insights. Thank you so much, Geeta. That brings me to you, Harsh. In the spirit of the theme of today, which is unbound, we know that as a principal engineer or an architect, having tech skills is table stakes, right? It's a given. But what is it beyond that that people need to do that stands them apart, that makes them go boundless?
Sure. Um, I think this is very timely. My nephew recently asked me a similar question, which was, he was like, why did you choose to being an IC? What do you think stuck with you? And I started to introspect on what really worked for me, that really made me stick to the IC role. So I think there's a couple of key skills that I've kind of metamorphosed it to. One, I think the ability to be able to expand in breadth and depth. And what I mean by that is, you always work from first principles. So given a problem statement, you are able to go broad. You are really able to navigate the complexity. And then when the need comes, you are actually able to go deep in the domain as well, right? Of course, it emanates from your hardcore technical skills, but this is not a specific domain skill. This is still the first principles, right? And so that, I think, I've seen it to be very, very valuable for the organizations. It is not to say the specialist roles are not important, but I think the generalist role is what really lends a very unique flavor and quality to the senior IC role. The second one, I think, is the empathy for why you are here. Why has the organization brought you in? And I think each organization needs a senior IC at different junctures in their life cycle, and the needs vary. When you are in a startup, you are the most senior, most engineer, your goal is to help move fast, prototype, toy with ideas, tinker. And as you grow, of course, you'll do the standard functions of mentoring growing people, but also being able to understand where is the business strategy headed, and therefore, how do we help make the right trade-offs calls. And then when you're a large organization, at that point, really being able to spend some time doing R&D, thinking about what are the new areas in which we need to dabble in, change the trajectory, but also still being the eyes and ears for the organization on the ground, marrying the strategy to what is really important for the organization. So I think for me, those are two very, very important skills. And of course, the third one that underlines all of this is, like Geeta said, the ability to influence without authority. Goes without saying, comes with all the senior IC roles.
So, add to that point, so one important aspect also, I think he is hiding it, to say no, because we say often no when unpopular decisions are made. That courage comes only to the architect. So architect always would like to protect the strategy and the integrity of the projects or the stakeholders by knowing all the angles, because they are holding the technical measurement in their hand. So unpopular decision made, aggressive timelines, asking something to deliver tomorrow, they will not give up on the quality, security, compliances that easily. So we always say no several times, and that comes with courage.
Awesome.
Sorry,
Thank you.
just on that. I think that's where the empathy is important, because I've seen both extremes where a lot of engineers get too purist and they feel their job is to say no. But this is where I think having empathy with the organization goals becomes very, very critical to balance it out.
Right.
Yeah, I think we need both sides. Like we said, many times this has come out even in this like 15, 20 minutes discussion. We are acting as that bridge between what the business wants and what can be done, and how we bring it all together. And for that, like both your point of views are extremely spot on, and glad you brought it up. We have very little time, so one more question, Harsh. I want to point it to you because my experience with Google and then with smaller companies like Hotstar, Flipkart, I felt that there is a difference between when it comes to influence without authority, right? In larger organization, like in a place like Google, when a principal engineer or a staff engineer says something, people listen. But when you are in a smaller organization, you are sort of on your own. You have to build that credibility and everything from scratch. How was your experience? Like you worked at Amazon and Hotstar, and now it's a different organization altogether. What is your observation or experience been on this aspect?
Sure. You're right in the sense that the experiences are indeed different. At Hotstar, I was honestly fortunate because I kind of was put up in a role that did get some authority by default. Being in the CTO's office, it had its own perks. But I think the important thing that worked for me was being able to earn trust from ground up, right? And so never ever approaching the individuals with that sense of authority, but rather having them believe that I'm one of their own. And I think that there's a bunch of ways of doing it, right? One is you always probe with curiosity, right? You are asking questions with the intent to learn, to illuminate yourself, and then you clarify. The second thing that I think has been one secret mantra is I think you do a very good job as a senior IC. If the idea that you're pitching for, you make people believe it is their idea. It has come from them. And I think the moment you cross that threshold, where others are sponsoring your idea, they are talking about this idea as their own, that I think is the fundamental way to influence, regardless of the organization size, regardless of the weight that the role
Yeah,
carries.
it's collaboration over credit.
Indeed.
Right?
Any day.
Awesome. We have a couple more minutes. So, Geeta, I'll tell you this experience that I had yesterday. I was in a meeting with a new client team, and we were having some discussion. Half an hour into that meeting, the CEO of the team says, "Oh, you are also an architect." And that's something that I have experienced multiple times in my career as being a tech leader, being a woman. What has your experience been?
Okay. First of all, uh, sorry to know that explanation yesterday that you have to go through. I think maybe that person might have a different perspective or maybe not projected well. But in my career, I have not come across this situation because wherever my
Oh,
name
you've
was
been
put
lucky.
that, I would say, or maybe probably whenever my name has been put, it is like as a architect. And maybe my language, my tone, and the way I have to speak with the stakeholders are may always bring that technology flavor. So as I said, based on the meeting where we are, if a deal is signed or if a RFP needs to be responded and need to be presented to the customer, during that time customer already knows like by name, like who has been in the past deals or who needs to be their favorite. So they would always call on that name. But having said that, my suggestion is that for anybody on when the table or a room or a call, it's always better to give the introduction of the people to begin with. It's very critical and important. The reason is that, as you said, I have heard this from few other female colleagues as well, saying that in the room we have not, either been not heard or we feel not important. It is not because what other feels. It is like you have a point of view to present, make your way. As you were saying that we earned respect. It is irrespective of male or female. Architects have to navigate through lots of complexities because business people have a different pressures, tensions, and they have to go through many things. So when we have to navigate through, these things sometimes come up, but when we need to set some of the base ground rules, and I think we can navigate through well.
I think there's
That's
this
what I
probably also buried stereotype there, which is how are ICs present on the decision-making table, especially when it comes to external stakeholders, right? And I think that's the barrier we have to break. I think there are not many celebrated stories of senior ICs in the industry out there,
I am on it.
right?
We'll talk more
Yes.
about that later.
And so I think those stereotypes need to be broken down in order to get past this.
Thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to both of you, and we'll continue the conversation backstage.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank you.
a lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarika, Harsh, and Geeta.